This has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I think it's the most important. I've written a book. It's called Becoming Free Indeed. In it, I share stories from my life, stories that nobody saw while the TV cameras were rolling, stories of fear and uncertainty, but also of discovery and hope. Really, I wrote this book for any of you who are wanting to honestly examine your beliefs without abandoning God. If you've been hurt by the teachings of Bill Gothard, or any religious leader who claimed to speak for God but didn't, I wrote this for you.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, November 7th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This video is all for you, and we will be all about when was the last time you expected a Duggar to actually call out Bill Gothard by name and write a book about him being not the greatest guy in the world. Did you ever expect this day to come? We are here. Jinger Duggar announces her brand new book, Becoming Free Indeed, in a video on her YouTube channel, proclaiming that she wrote a book about her time growing up under the Institute in Basic Life Principles teachings and how that affected her childhood, her belief system, and how she, as an adult, had to find a way out of that system while still maintaining her faith. Video, a 4-minute teaser, I guess, of the book, which comes out in January, is a sneak peek of what she hopes this book will achieve. Now, it's not going to be the tell-all that you expect, many of you are expecting, and I think I was pretty clear on Friday in my video that I didn't anticipate this book to be a tell-all. Based on the description, it looked like a theological journey that she was on. And in truth, the way that she does this video, I feel like this could be a message that she's trying to send to her siblings that are still trapped inside this belief system. Now, as we just spoke about on Friday, deconstruction from a belief system like the IBLP takes a long time. It's a long journey, and this is her first step of many. So while there is some concern and maybe some caution with this because of the connection to another church, let's try to just keep some positivity going for this first step out, and it's a big one. So before we jump into this, can you do me a favor? I am working diligently, as they say in the IBLP, to hit 300,000 subscribers. So if you could hit the subscribe button on the way out, I would really appreciate it. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, as well as ring the bell so you get notifications, and leave a comment if you have something to say. So the video, she starts off by saying it's the hardest thing she's ever had to do. And I don't think that she's lying there. I think this is I think she's telling the truth. This is a hard step because this is going to mean she's severing connections with people that are from the IBLP that still are inside, that will believe that this is a blasphemous announcement, or a condemning the IBLP is like condemning God, because they believe that their teachings are the truth, and it's not. So this is a hard first step and a big one, and she knows that, but she's doing this, and I think it's on the heels of what's happened with her brother. There's also a docuseries coming out about the IBLP, and this is going to give her side in her own words instead of through a documentary, which is good. But let's start out with a few things that she had to say, and we'll kind of go through this video.
This has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I think it's the most important. I first had the idea to write this book back in 2017. Jeremy and I had just attended a conference in Big Sandy, Texas, for an organization called Institute in Basic Life Principles. While there, I saw dozens of people I'd grown up with, friends who, like me, had come to Big Sandy every year to sit under the teachings from a man named Bill Gothard. But for every old friend that I saw that week, there was one or two who I expected to see who wouldn't show up. In the coming months and years, I'd start to hear stories of those friends, and I'd find out that some of them no longer wanted anything to do with Christ or Christianity.
So it sounds like the premise of her book, according to this statement, is based off an idea that she had in 2017, and she would go to the IBLP's Big Sandy Family Conference, which is held in the fall, and it's a week long every single fall. The Duggars still attend this to this day. Her siblings were down there this past fall. I mean, James was there, Jed was there, her brothers, her sisters, her parents. So it's an organization she's still involved in. And she said she goes in 2017 and she finds out that there's friends of hers that aren't there anymore. And she is concerned because she's heard that they've left their faith because of what they experienced in the IBLP. Now, it sounds like right off the bat, this is coming from a place of concern, of trying to share her experience, but also try to draw people back to God. That was just like my first thought, is like, okay, is this book going to be about how you don't have to not believe in God, even though you've gone through something like the Institute and Basic Life Principles? Now, she might be targeting those friends, or more importantly, I think she could be targeting her family. Listen, she's got a lot of siblings that are still inside this group, and the Duggars are pretty, in my opinion, theologically lazy. They don't spend any time going through the teachings of the IBLP to realize that they're being taught is not biblical. So the fact that she wants to help them explore the Bible would mean that they'd have to actually dig into the Bible the way that she did. And not everyone wants to do that. They also don't all want to leave a group, because it's hard to leave a group. But I think this might be not just to help save those souls that have left, but also, and mind you, she's an evangelical Christian, so soul saving is a part of what they do. But I think it's also for her siblings, as a sort of caution to anyone that's left. If they have left their faith, it's their right to leave the faith. And sometimes the trauma is so severe that they just don't want anything to do with it. And it's a journey for every single person, right? So her book hopes to be an encouragement. So off the bat, that's not a bad thing.
Story. I'm a Christian who loves Jesus and wants to follow him. I have, like those friends, rejected much of the teaching I heard for many years. My faith is still intact, but it has changed. Instead of leaving the faith entirely, I've been disentangling it. My new book, Becoming Free Indeed, is that journey. My journey of discovery, of disentangling, my journey of faith. In it, I share stories from my life, stories that nobody saw while the TV cameras were rolling, stories of fear and uncertainty, but also of discovery and hope. I share these stories because I want to be an encouragement to any of you who may be struggling to work through what you were taught while still loving Jesus.
What she says in this part, and that I clipped out, was that some of her friends had left faith, and she did not. She still loves Jesus. But that her book is about how she was able to disentangle herself while keep that intact, and all of the different feelings that she had as a result of that. Why I think this is about her siblings is about this idea that's within the IBLP, that if you get out from that umbrella of authority, you are under and away from God's protection, and that if you disobey your parents, you are outside of the umbrella of authority, which is again outside of God's protection. And she's saying that, hey, you can still love Jesus and get out of this and be okay. That's sort of the message I keep hearing, is like, I feel like this is to her siblings that are still trapped inside, and probably some friends that she cares about. But she has a lot of siblings still trapped in this belief system. And she has a brother that was one of her buddies, Jed, that's deep inside of this. So there's a lot to unpack with that. And I think, I've heard from people that know Jinger and Jeremy that they've been trying to speak to the other kids about, the Bible and how the teachings are not biblically truthful of what they've been taught by Bill Gothard. So I know that this is probably just another way for her to try to reach them in that way. It's probably very scary, though, because some of her siblings are going to say and feel like whatever she's saying is not true, because they are told that what the Gothardisms are is the truth. And that if they disobey their parents, they're going to go to hell. You have to really get away from that. And so they have to have an open mind, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So perhaps she's trying to reach them along with her friends that she fears are still stuck inside.
If you've been hurt by the teachings of Bill Gothard, or any religious leader who claimed to speak for God but didn't, I wrote this for you. When you grow up in a tight-knit community where everyone believes the same things about everything, it can be hard to even consider the possibility that what you were taught may have been wrong. But we all need to, even if it's hard. I wish that the teachers you leaned on when you were younger pointed you to Jesus, but I know that's not always the case. And so I'm hopeful that my story can encourage you not to give up on God, to not abandon Jesus.
That component right there was enough to get her shunned by Jim Bob. For her to say, if you have been harmed by Bill Gothard or any other religious leader who has claimed to be speaking for or representing God, this book is for you. This book is for people that have been hurt by the teachings of Bill Gothard. That is enough for them to be shunned, for her to be shunned. Jim Bob wholeheartedly believes in his teachings. Even if Bill Gothard has not been involved in the IBLP for years, all of the teachings remain the same because they believe that it's the truth, and they just say that Gothard is a fallen human. But the teachings remain. It's disgusting. And then she also points out that when you grow up in a closed-knit community, where everyone thinks the same, it's very hard sometimes to admit that what you've been learning is wrong, but you have to do it. That is why, and again, this is why I think this book is for her siblings, to open and maybe soften their minds to the fact that, listen, what we were taught as kids wasn't the truth. It was wrong. And we were directed to people to help lead us that were wrong. We were taught by people that misled us, and that is wrong. And her hope is that by doing that, she can show them that Jesus is still involved in her life through what she learned. So we'll continue.
While this is not the first book I've written, it has been by far the most challenging. The process has been more emotionally exhausting than I thought it would be. And it's been tough because it's so personal. And at times I've wondered if I should even write it. But I know it's necessary. And I want you to know at the start of this book that it is not a tell-all about my family. This is a book about me and my spiritual journey. It is the story of my faith and how I've had to figure out what I believe and why I believe it. This is my personal theological memoir.
So she has written 2 other books, and this book was apparently the hardest of the hard because of everything that she had to go through. I'm sure it's emotionally taxing to dissect how you were feeling as you were disentangling yourself from one belief system into a new one. And I'm sure she feels a sense of responsibility to put something out. There's a lot of heat on the family. She is trying to rebrand herself into a different direction. There's a lot of negativity surrounding the IBLP, and I think it's difficult for anyone to be able to move forward if you have that cloud that's hanging over her head. So she may want to be able to move forward in a more positive direction by fully disconnecting from that, which means that in order to do that, she's going to have to be honest about her life. That said, it won't be a tell-all because not everything in our life is about necessarily faith. And so you're not going to get all the things that were going on in their house day to day. I'm sure she'll share some details about her life and how she felt fearful under specific rules like the umbrella of authority. But I would certainly expect that she's not going to do a ton of disparagement of anyone in her family or her parents. If the book is what it says to be, she's going to be going after the beliefs and the teachings of Gothard, which she doesn't really have to disparage her parents because Gothard's teachings themselves are so abhorrent and abusive that parents that decide to follow these teachings, it's going to be a testimony to the parents that decided to follow these teachings. They didn't grow up in this faith. I mean, Michelle did not grow up in the IBLP, nor did Jim Bob. They picked this for their family. And it would take a specific kind of person to choose this kind of faith of heavily patriarchal, heavily controlled, and a space that allows fathers full authority over everyone in their lives. Everyone, all the kids, everything. That teaches such a strict belief system that a child can't do anything, that you have to blindly obey, which is not in the Bible. It's, I think the cult of Gothard attracts a lot of narcissists. So you might not get the tell-all you're looking for, but I think if you can read between the lines, you'll probably get some details about her life that were troublesome. So with that being said, this is a huge step forward for her. The fact that she literally named Gothard in this video, the fact that she said the Institute and Basic Life Principles, the fact that she said harmful, being hurt by the teachings, the fact that she said that she's writing this book for people that still are inside and they want to get out, and the fact that she's encouraging people that are inside that are refusing to evaluate and look at what they're taught and say it's necessary for you to actually evaluate and learn about what you're learning, actually read the Bible, actually understand, is this true, is this false, and make a decision yourself instead of blindly following, is necessary. That's a really powerful statement, and I think it's a powerful statement to her siblings that are still stuck inside. She certainly has a lot of friends that she likely cares about, and she's impacted thousands of people across the world, really, in the country that are inside this group still. But I think this is about trying to impact her friends, her family, and those friends that are closest to her. Now, in truth, she did get some positive responses on her post that she put on Instagram. Her sister Jill made a comment. Her sister or cousin Amy made a comment. Some family friends like Carissa Holt and her another friend named Jonathan that is in a lot of the family photos with the Duggars all made positive comments praising her for coming out like this. Joanna liked the post. So you'll see some of her family will likely support this and others are not going to, and you'll start to probably see some more distancing, and you're going to also probably start to see some narratives that are put out by the Duggars, whether it's through the tabloids or videos by some of the other kids, to say, no, this is not true, because she's going to want to reach her siblings, but Jim Bob is going to want to protect those kids and be like, no, you can't see this, you can't learn the truth, because you can't ask questions in the Institute of Basic Life Principles. You're basically told that you just must obey and submit, and no critical thinking is allowed. And she's literally saying, I'm telling you to critically think here. So whether you want to critically think or not, here's your opportunity. And Jim Bob's going to spend a lot of time trying to prevent that from happening. So don't be surprised if you start seeing some responses coming out soon. But this is a great first step for Jinger, and we commend her for this brave step, because it is a big one. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.